MMA Rants and Raves, analysis and reviews. Today we're going to be discussing a very big question, well, the biggest question in the heavyweight division of the UFC, yet it hasn't been asked that much, if at all. Should Brock Lesnar's title be taken away? Should his title be rescinded? Now, we have to ask this from an unbiased perspective. Let's face it, Brock Lesnar is a very popular athlete. He's a big superstar from the WWE for many years. He's very well known, and because of that, he is either extremely disliked, extremely liked, or some people don't care either way. So the best way to look at it is to analyze the situation at hand from an unbiased perspective. So let's do that. How long has he been out? Last time Lesnar has fought was UFC 100 against Frank Mir. Now that was 5 months ago, in July. Now basically he's not going to fight in this card, so this card is over, so he's going to be out for 6 months now, until at least UFC 108. Now the bottom line is like this. All we know right now, or maybe they're not telling us, or maybe they don't know, is that he has some kind of illness. It started with the flu, then it was an intestinal disease, then he had they said it was swine flu, and then they said he had a hole in his intestines, then he said he's going to the Mayo Clinic, then he said he's not going to the Mayo Clinic. So basically, when a high-profile athlete gets injured or sick, they make a press conference. I mean, they did it with Magic Johnson. When he had HIV, it was all over the news. So they knew the future of his career. It was basically over. Same thing with Bo Jackson. He had that hip injury, very popular athlete. They knew his football career was over. Brock Lesnar, we don't know. This is the first time this is, as far as I can remember, that this has ever happened. The fans have to know. People have to know what's going on with this guy. Now, if they don't know, they should make a press conference and talk about it. The guy is the heavyweight champ. He's a very popular athlete, and people want to know what's going on. So basically, if his illness is unknown, and they don't know when he's going to come back, if ever, that's a good enough reason why his title should be rescinded, and for a very good reason. What's going to happen with the heavyweight division? Let's face it, for 6 months, this coming card, a heavyweight match is not going to be the main event. We had Couture and Nogueira, but we never had a title. We never had a title match. It's basically been the welterweight, light heavyweight, and lightweight fights. So this is not good for this division. It's bad publicity, because fans want to see this fight. If the heavyweight division is not getting publicized, then it's going to hurt the UFC. It's going to hurt this business if people are not watching the best of the heavyweights fight. The other thing to look into is fighter ambition. Let's face it, an MMA career is very short-lived. It's about 10 to 12 years. So you know what that means? That means if a person's life expectancy, they say, is in their late 70s to 80s, that means for every 1 year a person lives, that's like 7 to 8 years being used up in their MMA career. It's only in your 20s and 30s. There's not much time there. So how much longer could these fighters wait? Basically, to get the title, that's the ultimate goal. It's like you're winning the Super Bowl. It's like you're winning the World Series or the Stanley Cup. You want to get this title. Every heavyweight has a chance to get that title, depending how hard they work, a little bit of luck, and how everything else unfolds, and the title shots that they get, and the opportunities. So they just can't wait forever. All these cards passing by means that a lot of these heavyweights didn't get a chance to fight for that belt. So basically, for the fighters themselves, it's just not fair to the fighters. If they're ready and the title shot presents itself, there should be somebody holding a title to defend that title. So if you look at all the scenarios here, you look at this unknown situation about what's wrong with this guy, it's bad publicity. for the heavyweight division. The heavyweight division is not out there fighting its best fights because the title is in limbo right now. And then you have the fighters not being able to continue their career, not getting title shots that they deserve. So here's the way I see it. There's really no need to go more into this because eventually, let's face it, they're not going to hold the title out forever. So when it does, they're just basically going to find out who is going to be fighting for it. And you know what the bottom line is, guys? Lesnar's not the guy to beat anymore. You know who the guy to beat is? The guy who got the title shot in the first place, which is Shane Carwin. He's the guy to beat. So this whole heavyweight mess has to be sorted out. From what I'm hearing, it's too early to tell. UFC 107 just ended. So in 108, I'm hearing that Yvel is going to fight Dos Santos. And a real uncertainty is if Velasquez is going to fight Nogueira. So you have the winner of these two fights might face each other. And then, of course, there's Frank Mir. So it depends on what happens, barring any injuries or anything else. It may take a couple more cards, which means a couple of more months, before we see the guy who's going to face Carwin. And the winner of that fight is going to get that rescinded belt. Of course, if Lesnar comes back, then basically he's going to fight Carwin, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So we're talking about a scenario like this. It may take another couple of months, another couple of cards before we see a rescinded belt. And ladies and gentlemen, that's probably what's going to happen. So this is a very tedious, it's a very confusing situation. A lot of question marks in the heavyweight division right now. And I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about it. Maybe you have different perspectives. Leave your comments below the video, and please subscribe. Thank you for tuning in.